going on, everyone? We're here for another edition of, Marc Lobliner's podcast, because I can't think of a better name. Anyway, today's an extra special guest. She's done it all, from running gyms, owning businesses, being knowledgeable and an expert at ingredients. A lot of ingredients you take right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Bonnie is here. What's up, Bonnie?
Mark, thank you so much. You're always a burst of energy, and I just love being able to have conversations with you. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. I think a lot of people want to go into business for themselves, but I think it takes a certain kind of crazy to go into business for yourselves, because I think the statistic still holds true, and that's 94% of all new businesses fail. So in order to succeed, you have to be essentially confident enough that you're going to be one of the 6% that make it. So that is a mindset. That is one of those, like, okay, it's kind of like thinking you're going to go to the NFL, right? Like, very few people make it to the professional leagues in any sport. I'm going to be an NFL player. But if you never think you could be an NFL player, you're right. You can never be an NFL player. But everyone in the NFL shares something in common. They all thought they could be an NFL player. So you have to be able to will it into existence. So looking at what you've done, what would be your kind of takeaway as someone who started a business and the mindset you need to start a business?
That's a really good question. And I'm sure, gosh, with all of your experience, you've probably had people tell you the do's and the don'ts. And I think the biggest key thing that is most important is the why before you even start. Why are you starting the business? If you're chasing the dollar, I have seen times where it becomes so much about the dollar that the passion gets lost, right? But if you can remember that why you're starting the business, is sometimes in those moments, it gets you over the hump when you're dealing with really challenging situations. Being comfortable in very uncomfortable dynamics, whether that's living very really meagerly or knowing that the debt you're leveraging for the long-term outcome will get paid off. I mean, you're essentially making a bet on yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy. People always ask me if I invest in stocks, and I'm like, I do myself. I've never, I have a 401k, I have Roth IRAs, I got all that good stuff, but I've never like traded stocks. I've never been on what is that Robinhood, Peter Pan, whatever that app's called.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been like, oh no, I got to buy some GameStop today. I'm like, no, I mean, I play the long game, but if I'm playing the short game, I'm betting on myself. So what made you decide to bet on yourself?
That's a good question. I don't think I knew any different, to be honest with you. I came right out of high school. I got a job as a personal trainer, and I did have a sporting goods job. You and I shared that same common interest, right? I think you had a Big Five job, and I went
Big
into
Five, baby.
yeah, I went into Sports Authority, right? So I didn't sling shoes, but I was a cashier slinger cash. So I think going into that and getting not wanting to be at the mercy of somebody else's schedule and being able to be motivated and knowing that the money that I'm making is mine and I can navigate it and do it in that way. I liked that idea. And so when I started my personal training business and I started clients, I could set my price. I could create a value. I could sell myself. And I liked that. I liked being able to scale something that was my own. And so that is what took me into coaching and took me into the gym ownership. When we started our gym back in 2008, that was when, remember the housing crash that happened?
Yeah, I kind of didn't notice it until 2015. I didn't watch the news back then. I was just so focused on my business, and I had a couple young children at home. Like my Cammy was born in 06, Thomas 08. So I really just, I'm like, oh, sales are down. Guess I need to work harder. Like I'm glad I had no idea. I had no excuses. I thought I just sucked. Turned out there was a market crash. Yeah, but go on.
Well, it didn't affect you, right? Because you weren't in real estate, you weren't a loan officer, and nothing that you were doing at that time did. But it did affect me. The businesses, the people that were paying us clientele were real estate agents, loan officers, a big heavy clientele that supported a business. And that was when it was in a corporate setting at that time. And my former husband and I looked at each other at that time, and he just said, "You know what? It's time for me to make a name and a space of our own. And let's. I'm thinking it's time for us to build a gym." So when we went on the gym hunt and we looked at places, people will tell you you're going to fail. People will tell you you can't do it or you can't make money. And what I learned is everything everybody else tells you is a reflection of their own internal limiting beliefs based on their ability to be able to take action and bet on themselves. And so if you can take a step back and kind of cut that off and just say, you know what? What's my why? How am I going to get this done? And is it possible? And almost like turn off the noise, you can really make something happen. It might not be $1 million or $1 billion business, but anything that is yours that you're growing and you're making money, isn't that great? I mean, take an example of your business, right? Supplements. You got your supplement run done, and what did you do to grow it? Did you have people saying you're not going to be able to do it? Why are you doing it? How are you going to do it?
Yeah, I found that pretty much everything in life, when I look back, people always said I wasn't going to do it. It was really wild. Like, I was undersized for football, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I actually used it for fuel. So when, for
Mm.
example, like, I had an old business partner tell me I would never take a product or a company mainstream. And fast forward, 15 years or so, I've been in every major retailer. I've had multiple products in major retailers. I always look at that as, I don't, I mean, I'm almost fueled by when someone says I can't do something. It's the rebel in me. It's like, don't tell me what I can do. It's kind of and I think
Isn't it?
that's the American spirit. Like, remember, like, we've totally lost that now as a country. I think at least a large portion of us, but we literally, over like a 2 cent tax on tea, just threw a bunch of tea in the ocean, and we're willing to go to war for it, right? Like, that's the American spirit. Don't tell me what I can do. I got free will. I got free will, America, right? Like, you don't, that's that kind of fight I always had, because my mom came here, from another country. And so I was looked at this as a land of opportunity, where if someone tells you you can't do something, you could prove them wrong.
Oh, yeah. And you can do it being the loudest or being the quietest. So after 2 years, that gym was profitable. But what we chose to do was, instead of taking a pay, we recycled it to grow it to make it even better. So was it profitable? Yes. Did we take the profit? We didn't. And that allowed us to scale. And I think a lot of people get afraid to reinvest or to work multiple jobs in order to be able to scale. I mean, if you can put that one focus, it's going to happen sooner, right? There's kind of a lot of components that come with that.
Yeah.
And I think it comes with a mindset and a grit, being able to wake up and to keep doing that. What's interesting is, after the gym part came into play, we had a client that was training for a bodybuilding show. And back in 2007, competition wear was not popular like it is now. There was nobody local doing it. You had to outsource it, from half across the country. And as you know, like, you're getting in this teeny tiny suit, you want to know that it's going to fit right.
It's
So,
for dudes. It's got,
right.
there's a lot of shape issues going on.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get one, and you're like, how does anybody, and I'm imagining for women, you got more bumps than men do. And so I'd imagine it's even more customizable, because I mean, yeah, I got the best decision I ever made is getting custom trunks, where they actually, they don't measure that, but it's kind of conformed to, and it looks a
To
lot
your
better
body. It's not a
to your
cookie cutter,
body.
right? It's not stamped and said, "Here, Mark, are you a small, medium, or large?" It's more like, "Oh, your waist circumference is this, and your height's going to be this, so you're probably going to need extra material here or there." And it's a strategy. You're strategizing for stage. And what was really cool is I understood that because I had competed and saw the problem. The problem was nothing custom, there was nobody personable doing it, and there was no connection there. So when the girl asked me to do that, I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." I did not make money my first year doing suits, and I grinded and I did a lot of free work, learning, showing up to shows, studying the art of what it took to make a good suit. And within 2 years, I was making money, and that became my full time job for the next 6 years.
Yeah, that's a grind. Suit to suit to suit. Yeah, I can see that. And there's a huge demand for them. I mean, it just yeah, bikini. Just like going back, I was at, I believe it was the Emerald Cup. I think it was 2004 or 2005. It was one of the first, if not the first, bikini show. And this show would usually go late, like 8 p.m., 9
It was
p.m.
so long.
This thing went till 3 a.m.
Oh my
At
gosh.
midnight, I'm like, I'm out. Like, I like looking at hot chicks like anybody, but I've had hot chick overload. Like, let's just move on and go past. I remember that night. It was a Emerald Cup. You ever been to that? It's a great show. Promoters are awesome people. They were always great to us. But yeah, I look at so you saw. So I think when you look at building a product, you a lot of times you find that market need, and a lot of times it's what you need. And that's why when I created the intro, when my team and I created the intra workout category with Extend, we wanted something to drink during training that gave us some beneficial effect and didn't have a lot of sugar and carbs. And so we looked at data and figured out branch chains, made them taste good. So a lot of times I think what, not to quote Taylor Swift, but what you're looking for has been here the whole time.
Right.
It's just Taylor Swift. Yeah.
Song in the background.
It was playing for some reason. Katie had it on the surround sound this morning. And, I look at that, and a lot of people, when you're like, man, I wish somebody did this. Why can't you be the one to do that? Like, a lot of inventions just come from a need. And if you need that, there's probably millions of other people who need that. And that's one thing to look at when looking at creating a company.
I think you said it perfectly. Some of the greatest companies and the greatest products were because either that person solved their own problem, which, as you said, solves other people's, or you solve someone else's, and then you solve 1 billion people's problems and you're a billionaire, right?
Yeah. And that's if you're selling a 99-cent product. I mean,
Right?
that's so I always looked at the gym business. I want to go back to that. So I've owned 3 gyms, and I just own a youth performance facility now. And I always found, and I don't know how the climate was in 2008, 2009, those times, but I found that it's harder to compete now with the Planet Fitnesses and the Crunches that really just obliterate the pricing of the market. What is one way that a gym can differentiate enough to attract enough customers to not be affected by the low cost gym, so to speak?
I think that's a really great question, especially if you want to be somebody that comes back over and over, want your clients to come back over and over again. And I think that's community. How do you make that person feel when they walk in the door? If you came into my gym, Marc Lobliner, I'd greet you at the door. I'd say, how was your day? Tell me about what's going on. What are you working out today? Here's a towel. Here's a bottle of water. And if there's anything else you need, love to help you out. Get to know their family. What is it? How is it I can serve you beyond the transaction of your ticket? And I think that was a huge part of our success, was that person felt seen and they felt heard. It was short conversation, but it was meaningful. And it was like, cheers, right? Don't you want to go where everybody knows your name?
Oh man, hopefully this crowd's old enough to remember cheers.
But essentially, right? I mean, hey, there's Marc again. You get a high five. And when you're training and doing your things for your show, people, you could put your head down, get to focus, and you say, hey, I'm in training mode. And you knew you had a community behind you that supported you, right?
Yeah, I think that's where gyms kind of miss out now, and it's classic sales, relationship building. And everybody who walks through your gym, you're essentially not only selling them to not cancel their membership, but you're selling them every day to buy other things from your gym. Like, maybe you can start stocking supplements and get that add-on sale to increase the average value of the customer. And a lot of gyms overlook that. And I think the most overlooked person, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think the front desk person, the gym just puts a partially alive body, usually a young kid who's just trying to fill in some time, and they don't care. They don't even acknowledge you walking in. They don't say goodbye.
Nope, just
And
scan
right,
your ticket and go.
yeah, and half the time they don't even do that. You have a scanner that literally is just there, and they just beep by, and the person's like, okay. Um, I think one gym that's done a good job, and they charge for it. Lifetime does every Lifetime I've been in, the front desk, they're over greeting you. Like the dude, I don't even go there often, but the one at my local one, he, yeah, my name flashes on the screen, but like he's like, hey man, how's it going? I'm like, yeah, all right, I love you too.
The energy behind it, right?
But you go to the other gyms, and it's just like, and I'm they do a great job at Carbon where I, my facility, they're amazing. Like they got great front desk people, but I go to these other gyms, like, and I'm going to throw out names. Most times when I visit an LA Fitness or, one of these big box gyms, I love LA Fitness, but their front desk people, they're usually just like scan. They don't even give you a white guy nod. They just kind of scan you roll in there. And I think you're missing out on a lot of being able to harness that relationship with the customer when you do that.
You do. You give them more reasons to want to stay and why they pay more. Um, and when you said offering upsells, right? Yes, it's an upsell, but it's also a convenience. How nice is it that you can have a one-stop shop because there's so little time in the day, and most people are struggling just to make time for their workout. So the more convenient you can make anything, is going to make their life easier, they're more likely to stay. Then I think cleanliness is the next biggest thing. How often are the toilets wiped down? Is it smell good? Does the trash get taken out? Are there rugs? I mean, we went the extra mile to like paint and do decor. And I even bought a sofa and stuck it in the men's locker room because I knew guys hung out in there, and it was like, why
That's
is there
dangerous.
why is there a sofa? But it's just, it made it feel like it's like, well, I don't know how the dude's bathroom felt, but you just make it you make it feel like convenience and clean. And if it was your own home, but it's not, you feel good when you're there.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, even though I'm still partially hardcore, um, I do like going to Equinoxes and the Lifetimes where the bathroom feels like you're at a resort.
A little
I
bit,
don't know.
yeah.
It just feels like I made it. I can. There's
It's a
towels,
luxury.
a shower, and a sauna and a steam room. I'm like, okay, I've done well for myself. But again, how do you do that on a micro scale is kind of the question. And you know, moving on from gyms, like what's crazy is it seems like entrepreneurship is like a disease that spreads throughout your body and won't go away. And right when you think it goes away, it flares up. And that's entrepreneurship. And it just seems like you didn't stop with the gym.
No, I didn't. When, like you said, an all inclusive, right? So the gym became kind of like a bodybuilding spot where the competitors would come in, train with their coaches. And that created opportunity for me to, all right, I've got all these competitors in here. I could be a one stop shop. So I added to the suit business. And then I added, what else do you need as a competitor? Oh, spray tan, right? You got to get your spray tan on. So to be able to offer additional services, and then, oh, you need supplements while you're training. Um, One thing, and maybe this was this way for you, but when you make a sale or somebody buys something from you because they see your value, it makes you feel really good. It's like a high. Like if I told somebody I have $1,000 rate for a certain suit and I could sell my value because I knew that's what I was worth, they saw my value at $1,000 and paid that. And that felt really good because then if it took me 1 hour or 5 hours, I still made $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's a value proposition. I've been talking a lot about, employment and mainly because I'm trying to help, but everybody takes it as an insult, right? So I see a lot of people posting on X and Instagram that, you can't get a job as a young person. And I understand, I understand. I get it, job market, whatever the reason. But then I look at, and again, I'm biased, of course, but then I look at my daughter who gets job offers without my help. Like this isn't, they don't even, in fact, I would probably hurt her in corporate America. Like they're like, that guy's a right-wing wacko. Like we don't want her, right? Or whatever. And so it's on her own. So I always think to myself, like, and I really do these thought exercises in my head, like, what is she doing differently? And the difference is she's finding a way to stand out. She's finding a way to present herself. And that's where a lot of people in any field, I don't think they understand that everything in life is sales. If you
Everything.
want to get a job, you're selling yourself. You're selling the value to the company. You are selling your suits. So here's a question for you as someone who's a professional, has hired people, has done everything. How do these young folks get jobs?
It's a mindset. Um, and I think that's a good question. I've got a 16-year-old, and I think you said it perfectly. Set yourself apart from everybody else because the jobs are out there. One, you have to want to work. Two, are you giving it 110% and showing that employer or whoever's going to be paying you what you can bring to the table for them? I said this to my son, and we'll put college in because that's the job he's shopping for right now, right? I said,
Yeah.
what are you bringing to these colleges? What are you bringing to them? What are you bringing to the table for them? Not I need to, the opposite way of like I need to make it to college and the flip side, like the job, right? Like I need a job, pay me $15 an hour. No. What are you bringing to them? Show up. Here's a good example. One of these podcasts we're talking about is this guy had a daughter that was an analyst. I'm sorry, when you go analyze stocks, an analyst. And what she did is she picked stocks that, their company managed, and she did a pre-assessment. She basically did the work to show what she was capable of and did a step above along with her resume, where most people would just put a resume out there. Why don't you show them you're capable of doing the work before they ask you to do the work? Be a step ahead.
Yeah, it's really funny what happens, and be serious about it. Dress the part.
Dress the
You know,
part.
my son was interviewing to be a busboy at Outback, and the qualifications to get that job, it's not even having a pulse. It's having somewhat of sign of life, right? Like it's not. And he's like, "What should I?" He's like, "What should I wear?" I'm like, "No, this isn't a suit situation. I want you to wear nice pants. I want you to wear a nice polo shirt." And you walk in there, you shake hands, you make eye contact. These are all things that, you know, I'm it's stuff that dads need to teach their kids. And I guess moms can, but I always, we have my wife and I, so I take that responsibility, teaching my daughter as well. I remember my son got so overwhelmed. He actually messed up in school, and I want him to go to apologize to the teacher. So I was like, that you go to teacher. So it's Preston, who's by no means a sissy, right? And I was like, okay, so you go up tomorrow and I'm going to show you how to do this. Shake hand. No, firm. Squeeze my hand. There you go. Now look me in the eye. And he just lost. He starts crying. He just starts bawling. I'm like, oh, I'm not equipped to handle this. And so I think those certain things, firm handshake, those are all things I don't think they're not teaching that in school. They're not teaching you those social skills that set you apart, the presentation. You're always selling the brand of you. They'll teach you crazy arithmetic. They'll teach you calculus. They'll teach you trigonometry and finite math and all these, the social, justice of Jamaicans. I don't know, but they teach all these abstract things, but they're not teaching them those actual business and life skills that we need to take it upon ourselves as parents and as a community to teach these kids.
95% of our communication is nonverbal. Looking someone straight in the eyes and confidently projecting who you are in that handshake, you nailed it. A firm handshake and the energy that you carry. And what I tell my son is it's not even going to be the things that you're going to say right away. It's going to be how that person feels just upon presentation, right? And that comes how I told him how that needs to look is because like you said, you could be nervous, you could be all these things. What's that thought running through your head that's creating that emotion? Then that emotion projects in that energy, and that energy is picked up because we have these incredible senses. I think that is not being taught. And I think male, yes, because they're more dominant, but my son, I'm a business owner. I'm running a company. I'm working a full-time job as a mom. So I have both sides of that, right? I'm teaching him home
Mm-hmm.
skills, but he watches me run the business, and I bring up examples like that. Not just interviews, but all right, when you're in a business setting at dinner, how do you sit? How do you know all the things leading up to maybe even establishing appointment, and just the sales of taking pride in yourself upon presentation is exactly right.
Yeah. And it was funny because situation where I got a compliment from one of my daughter's bosses at a job, and she's like, well, your daughter shows up for work like dressed for work. And I'm like, what does that mean? You don't understand. People here like pajamas. I'm like, this is a professional workplace. I was shocked, but my daughter knew, like, okay, you're going into a professional place of business. Every day she's got her blouse, her dress slacks, she's got her nice outfits, and she does her makeup, combs her hair, and that again, like, but men should do the same thing. Like, make sure your beard's trimmed if you have a beard, or make sure you're shaven, make sure your hair is, for me, it's shaven because I kind of have a receding hairline. And no, I don't I do have a receding hairline. So, let's not say kind of. So, I mean, it's about your presentation. It's about how you present yourself. And again, those are all parts of the sales process. They're all parts of it, and not just selling, but just being a professional. Whether you're in the back end, whether you're in accounting, HR, or sales, you're always using presentation as a way to further your career.
I think it comes with a level of standard, right? I think people become more comfortable and okay with being, I mean, I don't want to use the word lazy, but it kind of is a little bit lazy. Take pride in getting ready. How you feel about yourself, it will speak on the outside, and you will take better care of yourself. And I think a lot of people get comfortable in their self-esteem, which is not a bad thing to be comfortable with you, but like you said, there's nothing wrong with tattoos, but if you've got piercings or just presentation, really can make a difference based on especially first
Yeah.
meetups. Um, I think being well spoken and having those conversations with social media and TikTok, and where our youth are so exposed to so much media that can give them ways to think that if it's not being taught in the home and it's not being taught at school, they're going to learn another way. And I think that's being missed right now with our youth, is just how to take pride. And the guy's not wrong. You go to any high school, I think you have probably in your kids' high school, how many of them are in sweatpants and pajamas? And it's like, what happened to the jeans and slacks and like a nice polo shirt?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm cool being a little sloppy at school, but when it's time to dial it in, you dial it in. It's just, yeah. I mean, look, there's ways to navigate things, but they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
All they're going to do is talk about how they took loans they shouldn't have taken. And look, at the end of the day, here's what I've learned about life. Nobody cares. Like, nobody's trying to hold you back because nobody cares enough about you. It's a real competitive, shitty world where nobody cares enough about you to hurt you. Like, it is what it is. Like, if you work hard enough, the opportunities will come, and it might come harder than for someone else. But if you keep working, good things will happen. And just don't get discouraged, because life is adversity.
I think that's a misconception when people think of entrepreneurs as, oh, they got lucky. But Marc, how many times did you create that luck through consistency, focus, vision, and execution every single day? And knowing you had an end goal you were trying to hit, and it was like, it's go time, right? How many people, I think people get to that like day 2 or day 5, and they don't feel motivated. You create the motivation. Motivation isn't just there. There are some days I wake up and I go, I really don't want to do this today.
Exactly.
And those are the days that you do it anyway, because you've created the habit, and that habit has created your luck and has made you very successful.
Yeah, I think one thing to look at is that I'm actually looking this up right now.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs have a really, really horrible like marriage rate. Nearly 1 in 3 entrepreneurs have been divorced, roughly double the 10 to 50% divorce rate among non-founders in the same age group. I can speak to this. So Startup people involved in startups 15% more likely to experience divorce or breakup compared to those working in more stable companies. And I can speak to this, right? Like, dude, the fact my wife's still here, man, that's a miracle in and of itself. Because I don't know, there's this movie, this Netflix series on the Dallas Cowboys of
We
the
started watching it. I get you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you look at Jimmy Johnson, he literally like, man, I divorced my wife. I'm all in on this football thing. And it's kind of like that. Like, if you want your business to succeed, a lot of people are like, well, I'm tired of working 9 to 5. I'm going to start a business. I hope you like working 9 to 12, the other 12, the one
Yeah.
on the far side of 12, because that's what it takes. So, I'm on the road all the time. Your relationship, look, if you don't have personal contact, and I'm not talking weird stuff, just like being with your partner. If
Connection.
you're
Connection.
constantly on the road, if you're basically leaving her at home to be a single mother, like, you're going to lose everything that made your relationship work, which is that interpersonal connection. And your marriage it's going to shit 90%, 99% of the time. Ours did. But, luckily for me, I lucked out with someone who was patient. But most women aren't putting up with my shit. And lucky I'm in a spot now where I don't have to do that anymore. But I don't think, do I have regrets? I don't think so, because I think if I wouldn't have done what I did and become a selfish bastard, we wouldn't be where we're at. And also, what's the point of regrets? You can't fix it. Like, I don't, did I like that? No. Do I regret it? I can't. The regrets are pointless. They're just pointless. It's like, you move on. It's called choice theory. If you've read the book by Glassner, move on and just don't do dumb shit in the future. That's kind of where I'm at with my
I think it's interesting that you brought up the relationship dynamic. I could see both sides of it. And you know why? I mean, I am divorced, but it wasn't because of the entrepreneurship that took the toll. So we were in business together and we did do it together. There were other things that there wasn't good communication on that caused that. And right now I'm super lucky enough to be able to work alongside my partner now, doing similar things and traveling together because of that disconnect. I didn't understand the 9 to 5 mindset. I didn't understand why so many couples became disconnected with the man traveling all the time. And being in a corporate space, I actually do understand that now. When these women or these men would come in to train at the gym and they would talk about their relationships, I didn't understand it because I didn't have that, because I was with my spouse all the time. So now being on the other side of it and observing, I now get it, because there becomes this mindset that the man's making the money and providing, and then you have the woman in the kitchen and her job is quote unquote free, but her job is to provide for the family in a different way. And getting on the same page and collaborating and talking, I mean, running a household is a business. If you have a true stay-at-home mom, I'm sure, and I think your wife may or may not do some of this, but I know she's phenomenal and has so many skills. You're managing a budget for the most part. You're budgeting for groceries. You're running errands. You're juggling schedules. So you're multitasking in your head all day long. This is why, and we can look this up, it's been said that some women are really good CEOs because they were born with this certain DNA mechanism. I can find the right word for you, but because we are conditioned to birth, which is one of the most incredible, painful things you can do, it allows us to withstand painful situations in business. Our emotional intelligence is a lot higher. I mean, think about it. You're up at 3 a.m. nursing your baby on 1 hour of sleep. So there's no wrong way to have your relationship. How do you make it work? And I think it's been amazing that you and Katie have been able to do it so long, especially you being an entrepreneur. And wasn't it kind of fun though, when you did get to do some of those things together instead of separate? Because haven't you had both kind of balances?
Well, yeah, she's worked trade shows and she's worked for the brands
Yeah.
consistently throughout the years. And I mean, I'll never forget setting up for the Olympia, and we had Cammie as a newborn, and Cammie bit her nipple while she was breastfeeding, and she and that was the last, and that was when we started with formula, by the way. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, no, those are good memories, but our kids also grew up in that,
they
that
did.
atmosphere, and that's where they got their work ethic. And I also think they saw, all right, well, dad's busting his ass. And my daughter, even though she is privileged, right, she understands that. and she still has the hustle of a poor person. And that's because of sports. So that's a whole nother 2-hour podcast. Why
Right.
every kid should wrestle and every kid should play a team sport. I'll die on the every kid should wrestle hill, because I've seen it with and without, and I've had my kid. Man, wrestling is a game changer. But yeah, I completely agree. I could tell you to the dollar what's in the bank account of every one of my companies. I couldn't tell you I couldn't even guess what the hell I have personally, because Katie's the CEO of the house. And it's not like we have separate bank account. I didn't understand the separate bank account thing. I'm not that good at math. So we've had the same bank account since we were like 19. So again, like, she's really good at it. She's cheap as hell. We're good. She handles it. And that allows me to
be
focus
able to
on
do and keep your focus in one place.
exactly. And it's all because of her. Like, she makes it all possible. And I realize that. And I'll say my jokes and talk my shit, but we all know the truth. And what's really funny, just going back, like, you went from gym and then you hop into ingredients.
I hopped into ingredients. So what was cool is training people, being on the supplement side. I had no idea what happened on this magic over the other side. I met this founder of a ketone company, Rob Rogers, and I didn't know what he actually really did. I just saw him come into the gym and lift weights, and I was like, okay, cool. And through business and just networking, he watched how I ran my business. I was the CEO of the gym behind the scenes and the CEO of my household, right? And he saw how I managed things and offered me a job at his company. And I was like, well, what do you even do? He's like, well, I need a project manager. We'll start you out there. And that's where my first dip into the ingredient side came in, as I learned retail with products. And then 1 year after being there, he said, I'm going to have an ingredient business. And I said, can I come sell on the ingredient side? Right? Because retail becomes about numbers and transactions. And I was like, this is boring to me. So I went over to the other side, and my first ingredient I was slinging was BHB. And that was really cool. Now seeing how products were made, what goes into the process, the formulation, is such a high appreciation for these brands that you see all over Amazon. And then from there, now being in contract manufacturing is even an array of ingredients. There's thousands of ingredients, and each company, to a trademark ingredient, they're really passionate and believe in what they're doing. That's why they spend the money on the studies. That's why they go to the lengths to create the marketing and the packaging, and the ingredient side is just really cool.
See, that's where a lot of guys, and we're going to get these on this video, they get it twisted. Like, they do a couple of documentaries, show a couple shady companies. They're not showing the companies that put, millions of dollars into research and development, that put millions of dollars into running studies they don't have to run. You don't see the countless hours of auditing that goes on at contract manufacturers through NSF, as well as the U.S. government comes in with the FDA, and will spend an entire week all up in their dish going through every single part of their business. But all you see is one person. I tested some Amazon supplements and they were bad. Yeah, those are the guys who snuck through. Like, you don't understand the amount of testing and integrity. You got someone like a Simpson Labs. You got you look at how clean, beautiful, pristine their facility is. You look at some of these awesome facilities out there, and I've been to a lot. And you look at even, brands that are vertically integrated, what Marc's done at NutriBio. I mean, and I've toured probably 30, if not more, across all verticals of manufacturing. And I don't think people understand, like, you have to have a full-time 6-figure guy just to make sure your paperwork's right, just to go over paperwork. And that's more than one guy. That's a department. And then if you're someone like Pranova down the road from me, you have a built-in analytical HPLC lab in your facility that has better testing capabilities than testing companies. These machines are worth millions of dollars, and they're putting into it to bring you these products. And people are like, well, they're all fake. They don't test out. They do. In order to leave, now those are the guys skimping. But in order to even leave out of these facilities, they have to undergo testing. And a lot of times when I'm out of stock, the product's ready. It's just waiting on testing to clear. And I think that's what people don't understand, is the stringent quality control and the great people behind a lot of these health supplements.
I think the problem is too, is you get these Instagrammers, these TikTokers now starting to talk to grow their following about what they think they know about the supplements, the efficaciousness of it, the ingredients of it. And I love that you talked about that. There are very high quality manufacturers, Health Genesis, who I'm with. Um,
Yeah, they're
I've I've met Simpson. I mean, you walk through a manufacturer, and if I mean, I think we've been audited what, twice a year. You have somebody show up to do the cleanliness, they want paperwork. If you're paying a cheap price for a product that comes out of a manufacturer, I would definitely question why. Was the testing done? Which test did you get? Do you have heavy metals? Did you pull a COA, and did you ask if that COA, what the potency was? Where was it sourced? Did the testing on the potency pass so your product is what it says that it is? I can't even tell you how many products I've quoted where I said, let's pull those COAs and match it to your panel. And we can pull discrepancies from which manufacturers did what to know if the product is really that good. So I think people need to be aware that you shouldn't just trust somebody on social media saying, hey, here's a product and I'm going to tell you how it's tested. Go to a professional who actually knows, ask the right questions, and don't assume like because they have a method of, what I'm talking about. Like you get these kids that take it and they're like, oh, it tastes good. And this is what my test says. How do you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, social media is good and bad. Mostly good, mostly good, but a lot of it, I was an adult when social media started, so yeah. I mean, I'm kind of seeing it through my kids. But what's really, I've been talking a lot about, and everybody knows this about Go BHB,
Mm-hmm.
and you were slanging it. We're all slanging it. It's what we
Yeah.
do. We slang some keys, and so what's really fascinating is, I actually came out with a product with my brand Ambrosia alongside my partners, and it was called Ritual AM, and it had 3 grams of BHBs. We were one of the first to use it in a non-ketogenic application. If not the first, I haven't really looked, but we had it in this beautiful coffee additive. It had C8 MCT oil, had Velocitol. It was a great product, and then due to like some other things, we had to kind of pull it off the market. But I've been loving it, but I never truly understood what it did. But I knew that when I drank it, I felt amazing all day. And I had no idea it was the BHPs. No idea. I'm like, I don't know why this thing's amazing, but and I wasn't in keto, so I'm like, I don't know. This is great. I did a great job on this formula. People would email us like, dude, I can't. How dare you discontinue this? Like, this is just, I can't get through my day. And it was all the BHBs. It wasn't the Velocitol. It wasn't the MCT. It was the BHBs. And I know that now because I'm taking 10 to 20 grams of them a day. So as someone who is obviously a BHB addict like myself, what is your experience, and what do you tell people about BHB?
Oh my gosh. I say, Mark, would you wake up and start your day off with a half charged cell phone? I
My
mean,
wife
it's
would,
good.
but
It's gonna, it might happen, right? And it does, but the norm answer would be no, right? And if your brain is a supercomputer, when you do go to charge it, would you put your Apple on that Android if that charger did fit that phone?
is that a trick question?
You wouldn't put it on there because an Android would burn your Apple out over time. And that burnout, you'd have to buy a new phone. You can't buy a new brain, but what you will get is Alzheimer's and dementia. So the idea of that your brain runs on glucose, this was actually really interesting when I was talking to somebody else on another podcast. They talked about all these studies that were done on glucose. And I said, well, why do people think that glucose is the preferred fuel? And Ben Bickman's answer was, because they did these studies while the people were in a fed state of glucose. So that would make perfect sense. If you're actually doing it on glucose, and how do you know it's not ketones, right? You don't. But when you're sleeping at night, you are in a fed state of ketones. You're fasting, your body's utilizing them, and they're going straight to your brain. So if that brain is the CEO of your life, of your body, It's managing, it's processing your thoughts, your actions, your emotions, this conversation. And it's got to make decisions, and it's got to say, hey, let's have recovery time, or hey, it's time to go start a new ambrosia product, right? That BHB for me, the moment I hit where I went, oh my gosh, this is not just a supplement. This is a lifestyle food I need to be taking daily. That came when I was rebuilding my own brain from trauma and rebuilding the neurological pathways that I had going on. I needed fuel to support that. And it wasn't through a workout supplement, but it was the ketones I just started taking because my life was so busy. At first, I thought it was a weight loss product because that's what we're conditioned to think. And then when I wasn't eating healthy because I wasn't on a strict regimen, I was like, I'm losing weight, but I'm eating really crappy. It's because my brain was functioning efficiently. It's like when you're in a when you're in a like a street and the lights are dim and there's fog, you got to have those lights supercharged so that way the signals can still get through and you know the road down the path to drive. And that's what BHB was doing in my brain. And I had that aha moment because how I felt on ketones was what it felt like, when you're close to the end of your bodybuilding prep and you got that bodybuilding high because your food's clean and you're like excited and the energy, we're metabolically just in that flow. I could relate it back to then and I went, oh, I got it. Ketones is all about the brain.
You know what's crazy? I just got to thinking.
Yeah.
When I earned my pro card was the best I've ever looked. Also the best I've ever felt throughout the diet prep. Except for the last, didn't feel good on the show day. That means I was really in good shape, or I was dying, or a little of each. So I did have the BHBs. That was the only prep, including this last one, New York Pro. That was the only prep I had BHBs throughout. It was only 3 grams in the morning. And we're finding out more and more, like there's current studies going on that are using 2 and 5 gram dosing. And you look at my sleep also, I could never sleep through prep.
Right.
And I was able to sleep every night. And there's that sleep study out of Japan where they gave 1.9 grams of BHB to people and their quality markers of sleep all improved. So as I learn more about this and I understand that I don't have bad days anymore. It doesn't matter if like last week I drove North Carolina back, watched my kids' football game right after the game, Atlanta back. I felt fine. I was rocking and rolling because now I can leverage taking 10, 20 grams. So if you think about it, they did that study on creatine where it kind of knocked out the issues with sleep deprivation. And they were taking 25 to 30 grams of creatine, and it hit me. And this is all hypothesis. They don't know. They don't know the mechanism yet. There needs to be further studies. What does creatine do? It increases ATP, not just in the body, but in the brain. That's why we're getting all these new data about creatine's neurological benefits. And then you think of what you said earlier. Well, what does BHB do? Well, ATP. So if I'm giving my body this signaling molecule that's going to increase ATP, that's going to give me an alternate energy source. So let's say that day, maybe my HRV's off because I didn't sleep enough. The BHB is going to go to your heart because that's where it needs it. Let's say I didn't drink enough water. The BHB is going to go to my kidneys where I need it. Let's say I have migraines. BHB is a medically approved food for migraines and kidney. So the way I look at it is whatever is ailing me that day, BHB is kind of my Band-Aid, where I look at it as a heat-seeking missile that finds where your body needs it. And if energy is your issue, it's going to give you energy. If you have issues with sleep, it's going to help you with sleep. If you have issues with your health, it's going to go help you where your body needs it. And that's why there's all this emerging data on liver, on kidney. And so I won't shut up about it because everybody, including my children, and also like we've gone over the concussion thing, right? With Dr. Barrick here. My son, before every practice and game, takes 10 grams of BHB. And when he wakes up in the morning, he puts 5 to 10 grams in his morning protein shake. And if your kid plays a sport where there's concussion risk, which is pretty much any sport, it's irresponsible of you not to give them BHB before that game or practice.
I think what you said is so huge. Knowing what we know, if we told other people what we know, how could you not take it? It's undeniable. You are literally setting your brain up for protection in a game. Just like when you supercharge it in the morning when you wake up, you're setting yourself up, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. Wouldn't everybody just love to wake up and feel like they've got the energy of somebody who can go 100 miles an hour? You're charging your brain with the right fuel, the most efficient, high performance fuel you can find. And I love that's where the research is going. And I love the awareness and I love the education because thoughts take so much energy, emotions are the thoughts in action. And with mental health and entrepreneurship and everything that goes on up here, wouldn't it make sense that you would want the calm in the midst of the storm? And if something as simple of 5 grams in the morning in your cup was that easy, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's and you said something really fascinating. The that thoughts are stressful. They're tiring. I'll never forget my first ever lecture or event where I spoke. It was in Hyannis, up in Massachusetts. You know, it's up there in Cape Cod
Hmm.
and Cape Cod Nutrition Corner. James Karen and we had like 70 people. It was myself and a guy named Derek Charleboy, and we did. It was like an hour. Answered Q&A. We spoke about nutrition. This back in the 2005 range. And I remember afterwards, we got done. Derek and I sat in the car, and I'm like, I feel like shit. I'm exhausted. And then I'm like, he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, damn, dude, if you've never lectured or you've never given a speech and you do it for the first time, you're going to feel like you just got hit by a bus. And that's when I realized that there's nothing, there's no physical activity more tiring. And that's why you look at these guys who are just like right now, it's second nature. I've spoken in front of really large groups. It's fine. That first time I'll never forget. I felt like I got hit by a monster truck. It was terrible.
Well, because your brain was running, right? And when you think thoughts and it's taking your energy, it makes you feel drained overall because there's nothing left for your body, for your heart. And I love that you brought that up because the control and the ability to be able to manage those thoughts and let them pass through is all about mindset. And I think I don't my theory is the highest performing entrepreneurs have very high emotional regulation because that's all emotions are is energy in motion. And we've been conditioned to think crying, anger, everything else is a bad thing, but that's a signal just telling you what's not okay in your environment. That's all it is. It's a signal. And so I think some of these and entrepreneurs that I've met, and maybe for you too, I know working with you, I have noticed that your emotional regulation is very steady, right? And BHB supports that at a very high level. So imagine if you're not and you get that kind of support just because you're a kid in school and you have to deal with all that stuff all day long. I mean, it's an amazing magic tool. And we could talk about BHBs all day long, but when it comes down to it, it's like at the end of the day, I think everybody just wants to have a better quality of life. I would think.
So let's talk about your BHB. It's called Let's Go. Um, I've done a video on it. So it's really cool
That's
because
fun.
you took this great technology, combine it with BHB, you put it in an advanced delivery system, and it's just boom, right there. You get 4 grams straight to the dome. I mean, it's an awesome product. Hits you right away.
Thank you. And my goal with this was I solved my own problem. I'm a woman, I'm on the go. I have my emotional support sippy cup here. Most women do. But when you don't have a cup to
Men
put
should use
something,
shaker.
men use a shaker, women use a straw.
Yeah.
But when I don't have a cup, which is on the go, on the airport, I'm going to a football game with my sons, or most moms will admit they're guilty of this. Food falls in the seat, you're hungry, you're grabbing something, right? Like you're always on the go. The last person we think about is ourselves. And so I said, okay, how do I fix that problem? Easy. We're going to put it in a sachet where you can rip, sip, and go. And I'm getting the fuel I need that is convenient and quick.
So, dudes, this isn't just for women.
It's not.
Okay. My main use for it, where I find it exceptionally awesome, is flying. So literally, right when I land, I suck it down, and it's like I didn't even fly. It just, I'm good. I'm ready to go. And I go, because I usually land and go straight to a meeting. Rarely do I land and go to bed. It's usually an early morning flight. And it's just an absolute game changer. And if you did land and you got to get to your hotel, whatever, you get there and it's actually going to help you sleep. It's going to help you overcome the stress of flying. And there's just so many benefits, but it's a great option. I'm going to link it down below. It's called Let's Go.
Let's go.
And what's the website for everybody?
It's letsgobhb.co. And you're absolutely right. What's funny is you might have some pink on the packaging because I'm trying to educate here, but majority of my buyers is all men because they love the convenience and they love that they can take multiple a day.
Yeah, the product's so good that it can be pink and dudes.
Yes.
I mean, it's an absolute game changer. So yeah, we'll definitely have you back on. This is awesome. Support Bonnie. Where can they support you? Because I always tell people to support everybody, or else we'll never have anybody on here.
Thank you. Fit CEO on the Go is my Instagram handle. I'm on TikTok. Huge 5 follower, so join. And YouTube, I try to put out the content that's meaningful and educational to support and have other people like you having me on. You listen, there's so much information out there, and so you can find it at Let's Go BHB on YouTube. And Mark, thank you so much for having me on in conversation.
Thank you guys, and be sure to go support. Hopefully you like this podcast. It's educational, a little bit fun. I didn't tell any bad jokes today, I don't think, which is a first for me. Anyway, thank you so much, Bonnie, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.